The Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, is holding firm on her decision to tear up the poker machine deal with independent Andrew Wilkie after another day of accusations of broken promises and betrayal. The loss of Andrew Wilkie's support has opened a new pressure point for the government, but the pokies' backdown has been welcomed by worried Labor backbenchers in New South Wales, particularly as the chance of gambling reform slips further away. Brendan Trembath reports.
It's another risk for the Gillard government. Acknowledging the cost of problem gambling, they've walked away from a reform deadline.
Fran, government's about getting things done, and the circumstance here is legislation for full mandatory pre-commitment would fail in the Parliament.
You know, a lot of people care about poker machine reform, none more so than me. But I think many more people care about the quality of governance in this country and that we should be able to trust our politicians to do as they say.
The bright lights and lure of big wins are too tempting for some gamblers. And the Prime Minister had pledged to confront the $4.7 billion problem.
The way to address for the nation problem gambling, it's not to address a question of some clubs in the ACT, it's to get the regulatory framework right and to introduce this pre-commitment technology. That is the best advice to us from the Productivity Commission. That's what I've agreed with Mr Andrew Wilkie to work through and do.
And praised the Tasmanian Independent for his efforts to curb problem gambling.
What, of course, Mr Wilkie has done with the strength of his advocacy is he has accelerated that agenda. He's accelerated those discussions, he's turbocharged them.
But now Julia Gillard's hit the brakes.
I think acting against an independent who's seen as a good guy, a bit of a clean skin, is going to damage the reputation. It's a very high-risk act.
Dr ABJORENSEN says she's steering through a storm.
It's going to add increased speculation about the leadership. Kevin Rudd, I understand, was a fairly vocal opponent of the deal with Wilkie. She's got a lot of fence mending to do. The Craig Thomson issue is still under active investigation by police in Victoria. That could possibly spark a by-election. She's put her faith again in one person, not of her own party, Peter Slipper. Again, he's got a fairly tenuous run in Parliament. There are various opposition people claiming that things might come to light that will make his position untenable.
With the stupidity, towering stupidity of the LNP in Queensland in the Slipper affair, I lost my power, so I wasn't too happy about that. These people are not the gang that can shoot straight. Of a couple of $100 million a year.
With the political balance for the minority government shifting, Bob Catter is advising fellow crossbenchers to remain pragmatic.
Andrew's remarks are quite justified, and but I think Andrew in this case has really got to realise that, you know, it's a bridge too far, and he can get some good things out of this on gambling. I think all of us want to see a bit of reform, but there are very few that want to go as far as Andrew does.
This is a tainted government because it depends upon the vote of a tainted member. Craig Thomson is under criminal investigation in 2 states. He's also under Fair Work Australia investigation, an investigation which has now run for fully 3 years.
The dumping of the Wilkie deal could be seen as a gift for the opposition.
She began last year betraying the Australian people over the carbon tax. She's begun this year betraying Andrew Wilkie and his supporters over poker machines.
Despite criticism from the opposition, the government maintains it hasn't broken any commitment to curb problem gambling.
We will have a full trial of mandatory pre-commitment to see whether it can work to help problem gamblers. We will also be limiting the amount of cash people can get out of ATM machines in gaming venues, so they can't just keep going back and back and back for more and more and more. And we'll also be ensuring machines have warnings on them, and we'll be putting extra support behind counselling.
But political commentators say it's a long road to fully convince gambling proponents of the need for stronger action.
certainly in New South Wales, where the club industry is its most vocal, is its most powerful. It has very close links with the Labor Party. I think that was always going to be a problem to get powerful officials on side. I think that's starting to unravel. They're certainly buckling under the heat.
133390 is the number if you want to bet live.
And the goal of gambling reform remains an elusive one. The industry in Australia is exploding with the advent of new forms of gambling, allowing 24-hour betting on sport, internet casinos, and even wagering via mobile phones.
Well, in Australia, internet gambling via mobile phones represents about 10% of the online gambling market, but that is increasing. We're seeing more and more Australians owning internet-enabled mobile phones.
A recent survey estimated that about 2/3 of Australians will have phones with internet access by the end of this year.
So that it's now so easy to pull out of your pocket your phone, place a bet while you're at the pub, while you're at a sporting event, and gamble in this way.
Trying to tame this type of betting could be the next big punt for any government.